WWE NXT Friday, February 21st at the Havert L Fenn Center, back and forth Pierce. It's a stronghold for NXT. What a fun time. No TVs. These are house shows. You see live events, whatever you want to call it nowadays. You could see NXT superstars and up-and-coming developmental talent. It's just so much fun. And you could also see someone, listen, how about this? Jack of all trades, many hats worn. You've got NXT ring announcer, show host, merchandise pitch man. And he can do it all. I'm waiting for him to get in the ring with maybe a steel chair or a kendo stick or something. If some of those heels are giving him some trouble. It's NXT's Blake Howard. Blake, my gosh, you got to first tell us. I mean, you're coming from South Florida, doing the Florida Indies, and just doing a great job there and doing a lot of other things. How did this opportunity come up for you to be a part of NXT?
Jim, first off, I want to thank you for that introduction. Normally, I'm the one doing the intros, but that one certainly works well for me. It's crazy how the journey really came together. You talk about being on the independent scene. I was on the independent scene overall for about 18 and a half years. Obviously, as you mentioned, mixing in some other things like combat sports, MMA, boxing, kickboxing, in addition to team sports like baseball, basketball, football on the collegiate and professional level, and even high school level. But in terms of the WWE journey, it initially began, I guess this is the way the modern times go. It initially began with an Instagram direct message that came, actually, I remember the day specifically. It was November 1st, 2021. And from that period, I went through a process of a tryout, a lengthy tryout, which then eventually led me to go to the Performance Center for a tryout. And this is actually the first time I've ever shared this publicly, but I did not get the job. I actually had a tryout in the end of 2021 where it did not all come together. It looked like things were positive, looked like we were moving in the right direction. But after about 2.5 months or so, they decided to go another direction. But then, got right back to it. Indies, other sports, whatnot for 2022. And then the call actually came back in December of 22. Went back to the Performance Center for another opportunity. And then about almost a month to the day later, a little less or so, I officially put pen to paper.
During that time, are you dealing with Michael Cole? Are you dealing with others?
So my initial contact did come from Alicia Taylor. I did a lot of communication with her and Vic Joseph throughout the, recruitment process and the trying out. I didn't really have any contact with Michael Cole until I officially signed a contract, had an introductory Zoom with him. At that time, he was my manager. So, most of the contact is through Alicia Taylor. Vic being the voice of NXT certainly has a big influence on, certainly who comes through those doors. With Alicia and Vic and then, Cole, that was kind of the trajectory of how everything went.
And even at that beginning point, how did you said it started with a direct message, Instagram.
Uh-huh.
So how did that, though, come about? Was that just something you were trying to keep contact or make some, because it's not an easy thing to do with WWE.
Sure.
It's been a tough road for anyone. It's a tougher road. So what happened there? How did you start that?
So over the years, I had actually reached out a couple of different times with an attempt to Michael Cole's email with an attempt to, get an opportunity to get a look and, review my materials. And I actually had gotten responses before, which kind of indicated we were not really hiring anyone at this time, but, keep working, keep putting the time in and send us new stuff, new materials, whatnot, when you get them. And, I had that contact for, a couple of years there, kept kind of putting that work in. And then a good friend of mine who you certainly know and who I honor on a regular basis now, Mr. Howard Brody, the late Howard Brody, where we got Blake Howard from, actually went rogue and sent my information to someone that he knew in WWE, who then was able to place it in the right hands, which led to said direct message I had a couple of years back.
you've worked Florida and at CCW, and you've done a lot of things, and you mentioned Howard Brody as well. Just what was it like working the Florida circuit and being involved in that and having different opportunities there? Because you did a lot of different things on the Indies.
Sure. So I'm originally from Virginia. That's where I was born and raised. And, after I went to FAU, after I graduated from Florida Atlantic, I actually moved home briefly. Go Owls, of course. I briefly moved home and to Virginia and try to, get things kind of kick-started there. But from the sports and independent wrestling scene, there just wasn't a whole lot of opportunity in those late 2000s as someone who's, 23, 24 years old. So I looked back to South Florida, try to forge some opportunities. I know obviously being a hotbed of combat sports to maybe get my foot in the door there. And of course, at the time, NXT or FCW kind of turning into NXT, things kind of starting to bubble there. TNA obviously in the Impact Zone at the time on a regular basis. So Florida was always kind of seen as a place to be for professional wrestling. So I, kind of dipped my toe back in these waters and sort of ran with the Florida indie scene for a while and, try to do as much as I can. And for me, it was very eye-opening because coming from Virginia, the Florida area was much larger, had much bigger stars, much more opportunity. So it was a really great place to kind of plant my flag and kind of really, I guess, introduce myself to more than just the regional audience of Southeastern Virginia.
What has Coastal Championship Wrestling meant to you?
So CCW, it's funny because I really only worked there about a year and a half. I didn't really work for CCW that long. I began in May of 2021, and that was, again, pro wrestling, local wrestling. There's a lot of politics involved. So there was some splintering with some organizations and some opportunity came up with CCW. And, I started working there, as I said, in May of 21. And, I thought it was almost like a 7th month run. And then, I didn't end up getting hired that first time around, put the work in for the next year there. And then my actual final independent event or final event of any kind before coming to WWE was, I'll never forget, it was January 7th, 2023 down there in Miami, Bash at the Brew, Hialeah. Big moment, Ariel Levy turning on Venetius. I'll never forget that there. But yeah, I mean, that was that was the cherry on the top of the independent journey. But I will say one thing about CCW, at least what it has meant to me is in those last couple of years on the indies, it gave me a lot of consistent opportunity. And when I wasn't doing MMA and boxing and other sports, it gave me a place to consistently do wrestling. And I think with CCW's ability to give me that platform, it allowed me to stay sharp enough to get to a point where I am today.
Hey, Blake, you mentioned like sending things to WWE so they could see your work. I mean, what things are you picking out? And do you have a person that you're saying, hey, should I send this? Should I send that? What should I send?
So that certainly evolved over the years. Originally, I kind of just thought of some, different situations, opportunities. Again, you talked about jack of all trades. I think that's one of the most important things to have as someone in an announcer, broadcaster position. There's only one Michael Cole. There's not. Most of us wear several different hats, and you have to be able to kind of do everything. So, with that being said, that's kind of where I, went that direction and tried to find, as much diversity as I could to be able to send to them. As things progressed over the years, I looked for, better quality footage, higher profile events. If I'm doing MMA on NBC, I'm going to send something like that in over a localized event, something like that. So, that as I evolved, those types of things evolved. But, I think the most important thing in something like that, you got to just show the framework or at least the ability to kind of get to the point where they need you to be, show that your coachability and moldable and things like that. Because if you're able to do that, then that's really what they're looking for the most.
And he's also a timekeeper as well, like you'll see at NXT in Fort Pierce on Friday, February 21st.
I would say the ringing the bell, that's probably the most anxiety of the whole thing, because you never know when the match is going to end. And it's one of those things, hey, you know, the next thing you know, the ref could be calling for a DQ. You weren't expecting it. So you always got to be on your toes by the table.
Because when you're ring announcing and timekeeping, you really got to keep your eye on the show.
Absolutely. No time to check the phone during that show.
Tell me about the talent in NXT. And it's interesting, too, because let me get this straight, too. You did WWE Level Up, and that was with Byron Saxton, the great Byron Saxton. By the way,
great Byron Saxton.
You've got to get fashion tips from Byron Saxton. I'm waiting for him to do his own show just on fashion alone.
Oh, he's got a closet ready to go. I mean, Byron is a fashionista.
So you did that with Byron Saxton, and you're doing WWE Main Event with Vic Joseph, and that's on Peacock. You did do it with Road Dogg Jesse James. What has it been like working with them?
What an experience that was, and really Main Event in general. What an amazing time being on the road on Monday Night Raw, having the opportunity to work with just so many diverse talents. I mean, you mentioned Road Dogg. I had the opportunity to really sit next to Road Dogg for about 9 months at the desk at Main Event, but there's times Road Dogg couldn't be there, mixing in guys like The Miz, mixing in JBL, and working with these different types. You mentioned Vic, Byron, Wade Barrett. Really, Robert Stone, had the opportunity to work with him on Level Up. So it's been great working with a diverse group of guys, and especially Vic, because Vic's really been a mentor to me since coming to NXT, and then be able to sit next to him and just learn a lot of different things from him. And those have been really great experiences, you know, working with the diverse broadcast team that we have.
And by the way, Blake, that's Mr. Stone.
Oh, listen, when he hears this, I'm sure I'll hear about
it. So, all right, couple more things. We'll get this wrapping up. I don't want to take too much of your time.
So good.
All right. So here's the thing. So we'll tie the South Florida part in, I think. First of all, we're talking about, okay, Blake Howard, Lola Vice, Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan, Sarah Schreiber, the great Sarah Schreiber.
Gotta love Sarah Schreiber.
I know you're an owl, but go you.
Yeah, we'll throw up to you for Sarah. We did it for 2 years, 3 years with Chase U, so we can do it here.
Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. And Sarah must have loved that.
Absolutely.
Doing the U. But what are your thoughts of just South Florida and the talent being a part of NXT and what we have down here?
Well, you mentioned the talent in general, and right now in NXT, it's second to none, and especially some of the ones that you just hit right there. The NXT women's division is on a completely different level right now. You saw that representation in the Royal Rumble. 5 of our superstars rounding out the field there, and right now with the depth on Mondays and Friday nights with Raw and SmackDown, to have 5 representatives from NXT, the runner-up in Roxanne Perez. I mean, unbelievable to really see everyone not only just step up, but show out as well. I mean, Lash Legend coming in there, making a difference. The new champion, Julia, making an appearance. Stephanie Vaquer. And then, of course, you mentioned Jada Parker, of course, from Port St. Lucie. You know, she's getting it done. Just the rise of her. And you mentioned Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice as well. I mean, the 3 of them. And really interesting, coming from the 3 different counties, really, you know, they're, you know, coming down in the South Florida area. But you know, Kalani, just her rise and her recent, you know, aggressive streak that she's put on there. Lola looking for some championship gold sometime, probably in 2025. I mean, Jim, we obviously have Vengeance Day, which is going to be, you know, just about, I guess, 6 days after, before our Fort Pierce event. But then you go about a month or so later to Stand and Deliver when we go to Las Vegas for WrestleMania weekend. I would imagine all 3 of those superstars will be heavily featured.
Oh, WWE Holiday Tour. And Florida stops, main roster, and
Huge.
Miami's one of the stops, and you're a part of it. You're the ring announcer. You're the merch pitch man. Just what was it like being with that talent? And my favorite part was, a couple of favorite parts. You and Charles Robinson.
The GOAT.
Side by side. And my good friend, Jason Ayers, one of the best referees out there. And you're there. So those are my favorite. But my favorite part is that steel cage match. And, well, actually, Solo. When Solo, you had to hand the mic to Solo. That was earlier. And you had the way you had to present it. But Kevin Owens gave you the stare down I was saying, oh, this is it for Blake. It's over.
I had a feeling you were going to go there, and that was the third night in a row he's given me the business. I thought I was going to get away with it after Jacksonville, but then from Orlando to Miami, KO, the true rightful WWE champion, as he called himself. But what an amazing experience. I mean, not only being on those 3 events, but also Detroit the following night after Miami. What a holiday tour. I had the opportunity to work with the main roster a couple of different times throughout last year. In New York, I did a live event loop. We did another live event loop in Florida in June and August. But to be able to do the full holiday tour was incredible. I mean, Cody Rhodes headlining each and every night, the undisputed WWE champion. But I mean, as you said, Jim, to be in Miami, a building that I've seen countless Miami Heat games. I've seen concerts. I've seen Survivor Series 2007. I saw Royal Rumble 2006. I've been there for so many different things. It was really special to be in that arena. And, my dad was there that night. I had some close friends there as well. You were in the house, so it was really cool to be there for that. And, really grateful to be a part of it and be chosen to represent SmackDown for the holiday tour.
Opportunities with WWE. So where are you now? What are you doing? You have to talk a little bit about the WWE Performance Center, and Sarah Schreiber does a lot of things there too with everybody.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious about that part of it and where you are now, and just going in the direction, escalating.
Loving things right now. I mean, we got a live event this weekend here in Tampa I'll be hosting. So I do, the NXT WWE live event hosting. I call the action on WWE Main Event. I do some backstage interviewing, tag teaming with Sarah Schreiber on NXT TV. I had the opportunity recently to do WWE Speed, to do an episode of that, which is very cool. A great match between Chad Gable and Charlie Dempsey. Hopefully get some more opportunity with Speed moving forward. There could be some potential opportunity bubbling with some of these new shows we have. We've got LFG, rolling out, Evolve. So a lot of that's still being kind of shaken out right now, but, would not be surprised to, have some opportunity like that.
And when you were growing up, were you a big pro wrestling fan?
That's an understatement. I not to reveal my age here, but literally since day one, I've been a huge fan. WWE, of course, but growing up in Southeastern Virginia, huge WCW fan. Also, ECW, and then eventually the independent scene, Ring of Honor, all those kind of things as well. TNA, of course, was huge. Going to college at FAU, making the trip up to Universal, every couple of months or so with my roommate to watch some TNA shows. But overall, I've been a fan for many, many years, and it's cool being able to connect the past and the present as we move forward to the future. But also, some of these guys, you mentioned the Performance Center, you never know who you're going to see on a given day. And, one day the Undertaker walks in the door, one day Bubba Ray Dudley walks in the door, you know, John Cena's there sometimes. You don't know who's there, and it's super cool.
And favorites for you back then when you were younger?
Well, I mean, we're going to go all the way back. I'd always said my all-time favorite was Sting, being a WCW guy, just kind of growing up there, but certainly as a child of the late 80s, early 90s, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, obviously very big in terms of being influential. Nature Boy Ric Flair, somebody that, has always resonated a lot with me. And, kind of as we move forward, guys like Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all those guys were Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle. I mean, those were always big guys for me. And, into the current day, it's hard not to like a guy like a Seth Rollins, the incredible talent there. So I think there's some really, great talent, obviously, from past to the present. But yeah, it's pretty cool kind of walking down the hall and you never know who you're going to see.
It's just amazing. That WWE Performance Center, what an idea. And it stemmed really from Triple H to do something like that and do that there. And you guys have, NXT every Tuesday, 8 o'clock on the CW. The ratings, boom, going up. It's just amazing. And then you got the big show coming up at the Havert L Fenn Center in Fort Pierce.
Yeah.
The fans are great there.
And listen,
I love them. Friday, February 21st.
I know we're talking Fort Pierce today, and I'm not just saying this because, but I'm speaking for the whole locker room here. So if anybody has an issue with it, I'm speaking for us. We love Fort Pierce. It's one of our favorite stops. Great venue, great atmosphere, great crowd. And, you know, we really hope to fill it up, because when we do fill it up, it's like second to none. And it's a really big environment there. And the talent really loves to step up, you know, in that type of environment. So it would be great. And, you know, look forward to seeing everybody. It's been a while since I've been in Fort Pierce. Last stop, Schreiber took the reins. So yeah, I'm excited to be back. And yeah, it should be fun heading on the road to WrestleMania.
Well, Blake, congratulations so far. We're going to be able to say more congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Keep climbing the ladder. You just are doing so well. You work hard. Hard work pays off. Perseverance pays off. You could learn that with Blake Howard. Thank you so much, Blake. We'll see you in Fort Pierce on February 21st.
Thank you, Jim. Can't wait.